So today we're going to paint some of the parts for the XN85 Suzuki Turbo. It's a 1983. It's a real collector bike. And like my GS, Suzuki made a bike that a lot of people want to collect. Turbo Steve has two of them now, and I think he's got an extra frame. But I think what he's doing with this, and I'm not sure, we're going to get him to tell the story on a future video. He's got enough parts to at least to make two bikes, and maybe a lot of spares, and I know he's got a spare engine. So getting these parts absolutely show quality is going to give him a lot of options when he goes to assemble the bikes and decide how he wants to present that bike in the future. And as I said, Steve has a collection of turbo bikes. He rides the wheels off them. He shows them at the various meetups that we go to. And it's a very, very unique collection. We hope we can do our part to make it even better. Today we're going to work on Turbo Steve's turbo bike, and this is probably going to be a very easy day for us because Steve's already got the parts prepped. He knows how to prep parts. He's got them primed. I hope the primer that he uses is a self-sealing primer, but obviously we'll find that out when we paint them. But getting plastic parts prepped, if you're doing the painting and somebody else does the prep, they've done more than half the job. It's a good thing to keep in mind. But then we're going to have a separate day after these dry overnight to put the stickers on, the decals, the vinyl. And Dale's daughter has the machine. She's been cutting the stencils out beautifully. And then we're going to wait for a really, really nice day to get the clear on. But in the meantime, hey, time to get down and shop and get busy. It's cold out here. So a useful tip if you're painting anything plastic or anything that's already been painted and you've sanded through. This is the key to making it reliable, easy. Primer, sealer. This is the word that matters, sealer. There's all kinds of primer. I don't know what Steve used, but even if he didn't use this, we can just sand his primer and put a little bit of this on. But maybe his will be fine. I don't know until we actually go to paint it. Now, I looked over the parts individually under fluorescent lights, and there's a couple of things I want to do to detail them out to make it even nicer. I know this is a collector bike, and I know Steve really appreciates the quality. So the parts that Steve dropped off, now this is, and I'm just looking at them and with a rubber glove on, I don't want to get fingerprints on it. He had these all very nicely wrapped in paper towels, and I just want to make sure there's no rough spots, nothing that I can't there's a little bit of an overspray right here. There's always there we go, that'll take care of that. This 1000 grit paper, if there's anything you can feel with your bare hand, because it'll come through in the paint, and just mean that you have to put that much more time into it once the clear and the stickers are on. Now the stickers go right here, so we really want the stickers, where the stickers are. I want to show this real close if I can. I'm going to do the whole part, in fact. I'm just kissing it with some 1000 grit paper. And what this is going to do is expose any of the flaws that are in the part. Because what happens with any flat paint, especially this flat primer, you don't see the flaws. And then when you paint the silver, this is a beautiful color, by the way. And Steve had this custom mixed for this bike. They didn't even have it at color, right? He had it custom mixed, so we want to do the best we possibly can here. But let me just show this. This is interesting stuff. I want to show the flaws that, well, let's see if we can do it in real time. I always like to do things in real time. I'm not sure you can see it, but there's just little gouges, and it looks like the gouges that would be there if you had to use a razor to take the stickers off, which maybe he did, I don't know. Not something we can't take care of, but anything I can show in real time, it's always better information, I think. So here's what happens when you kiss this with 1000 grit paper. You see the flaw comes up? Look what happens. Now we can get rid of these flaws right now, and if they're, especially if they're where the stickers are going to be, because this is going to have some real nice lettering, and if we don't take care of this, there's going to be a bubble there. So the way that I'm doing it dry, you could do it wet, it won't even matter. Only takes a couple seconds. And the difference between having a show quality job and something that looks like it came out of a, well, not a show quality job is better. Here's another one down here, and this is the kind of information I like to pass on. Not real critical. If we skip this step, the job is probably 99% of the people that look at the bike would never even know it. But the few people that know what good custom painting looks like, I think Steve is one of them too. So we're going to put a little extra time in. We'll get these just as nice as we can make them. And that's the extra thing that makes a show quality job a show quality job. Now another really useful tip, and that's what we try to do on our channel, is people that follow the channel and try to pick up some tips for making their projects work better, whether it's custom wheels or parts like this. What will happen if I take degreasing agent and it's too wet, if it's soaking wet, what will happen is this it can take the paint off, because a lot of primers, degreaser will take them off. M600 will take primer off sometimes. So I want to be real careful. I'm going to just wipe these down. There's two other parts that go around the side of the bike. I'll do the same exact thing to those parts, and we'll mix up the paint. And this is a real custom color. It's almost the color of my GS. It's a beautiful color. This is like building the foundation of a house. You get this all sorted out and straight, and actually when it comes to spraying the parts and painting, it's going to be a piece of cake. Now these are parts that are going to get a sticker here that says turbo. So again, I'm taking the extra few minutes, and you think it's a lot of time, but then you think when that decal or the sticker has a bubble in it, you wish you could go back and do this. So I would always rather stack the deck in my favor, and especially I'm working on a bike like this that is truly a collector bike. Not a lot of them around. Steve has a nice collection of turbo bikes, and we'd like to make that even more. I think this is an Evil Twin, but I'm not sure that he's got. I know he bought a whole bike in parts. I think this is part of the bike, and I thought one of the ideas he could have is to take the bike that's a street daily driver that he takes to the shows and stuff, and make a whole nother bike that's upgraded, that has modern, better paint, a little bit nicer quality paint. Yeah, that's going to be perfect when we're ready to do the stickers. Now, even if Steve is just going to replace the parts that are, the paint is a little worn and tattered with some new fresh parts with fresh paint, even if that's all he's going to do, this effort will all be worth it. So this is Colorite paint. We have some Colorite thinner left over from Joe Padula's job. He agreed we could use it. Everybody here shares their product. But this is the color code is 4006 Suzuki Iron Silver Metallic. Now, Steve had told me the story that they didn't have this in there. They went and made this just for him. So I don't know what the true deal is, doesn't matter, but I wanted to make sure to mention to people, Colorite almost always is a perfect match. I have done many jobs with Colorite, including Joe Padula's Ducati, several for other people, always a good mix. But here's the trick. Never just, and we've used some of this on a tank and a fairing and some of the other parts, but any of these metallic pearly paints, you've got to really shake them and mix them and everything. And we're going to make a batch just big enough for these 4 parts. I'm going to be 50-50 thinner, using the Colorite thinner, not the Body Shop thinner. Now, I don't want to use primer thinner, fast drying, and I don't want to use slow drying thinner that has high penetration, because anytime you're doing plastic, the biggest mistake you can make is to use high gloss thinner. Always use a slow drying thinner or a medium, and in this case medium will be fine, but we need to shake this up and stir it really well. So this is the reducer that we're using, the paint, and they're both from Colorite, and that would almost guarantee we're going to have a really good paint match to the parts that we've already painted, the tank and the fairing and a few of the other parts, the fender. Any of these metallic pearly modern paints, boy, they need to be stirred constantly, and shake the gun while you're painting. Another little trick that I find really useful, don't ever try to paint this on in one thick coat. A lot of thin coats is a lot better, and there's a lot of pigment down at the bottom. When this is sprayed out, this is really a beautiful color. It's very similar to my GS, that color that the GSs are, but not. This is an 83 bike, so again, it's not exactly the same. I couldn't use this paint to do a touch-up on mine. He couldn't use my touch-up paint on his bike. So, and if I may be a little bit wrong on this, but I think the paint right now is about $300 a quart. That's what I paid for the paint for the MT-09 anyway. I don't know if Steve paid the same or more, but the bottom line is paint is not cheap anymore. Now what I've always done is when I'm done with a gun, I take the tip and the cap off, leave it in basically in thinner, leave the gun apart. Now we're really lucky because this is a gun that has never painted anything except Turbo Steve's other parts. So there's no chance it's red in here or blue or green. This is strictly a Turbo Steve gun. And it's always good if you have a very unique color like this and you're working on a collector bike that's irreplaceable. You don't want to have a big glob of red come out. It's worth investing 15 bucks in a new gun. Now another really good tip is after you have the paint in the gun, seal the top with some tape. It prevents any dripping and drooling on your shoes or on your driveway or whatever. Cheap insurance. Now I'm spraying with the smaller gun with the fan set as wide as possible to avoid zebra striping. And every time I go over this part, what's going to happen, I put this in fast forward, otherwise we're going to have those complaints that the videos get too long. And just by moving apart and going horizontal, vertical, many thin coats. The whole answer to having nice paintwork, many thin coats. Not to try to blow it on in one big gulp. Now after a nice cup of coffee, I wanted to see how this is drying up before I go on to the next part. No zebra striping at all, no flaws, no fish eyes, no nothing. The stickers should go on that like a piece of cake. Okay, we can go on to paint the rest of the parts. And this will sit out in the garage overnight. Now even though we're in the middle of the winter and it's really cold out there, it warmed up enough by midday that this really turned out nice. And with having the sun out, when you're doing a metallic or a pearl color, big help, because again I'm going back over this part over and over, sideways, vertical, horizontal, not just going back and forth in one direction. When you do that, you always wind up with some kind of zebra striping. Now I know because I've painted this color on the tank and the fairing, once you put the clear on this comes to life like jewelry. It's a beautiful color. Now it looks like we're in very good shape. It looks like the prep job Steve did, and he knows how to prep stuff perfect. Not a single flaw in the paint. I'm glad we got rid of those little dimples. It's going to make the job even nicer. And from this point on, we're just going to paint the rest of the parts. Give it 2 coats on everything. And we are having a great day. So I've tried to put all the little tips I think will make this a little easier if you're using this type of paint. Again, this is a pearly, metal flake. You notice every once in a while I'm just shaking the gun. That's why I put the tape on. I don't want to get it on my shoes. And another thing, the zebra striping in this kind of a paint job, if you're out in a bright sun, I like to do this on a day that the sun is bright, because I can see a zebra stripe, and if it's left to right, I paint the next coat top to bottom. It stands to reason. It's a kind of a simple thing, but it's not. Once you have a zebra stripe part, you almost have to go over the whole part. So again, I've learned that the hard way. A lot of this stuff, not a lot, everything I've learned the hard way. And to get this quality of paint, there's a lot of little tips that'll just make it easier, and that's what I try to share. Now after 2 coats of that Stone Mountain paint, I think we're ready to let that dry overnight. That is really going to be nice. And again, I don't think the video shows this color like it is in real life, and especially when you put the clear on. So the next thing when this dries overnight, we'll have to make an appointment with Steve to get, he puts the stickers on, and then we'll get to wait for a really good day and do the clear. So I hope there was some useful information on the video, and painting plastic parts sometimes can be a little tricky. These came out perfect, and I can't wait to send Steve some pictures of this. He'll be happy. And again, I hope you got some information. I hope you enjoyed watching the video. Now at the end of every job, I kind of like to look at the pictures I've shot during the job and see the before and after. And it was quite a productive day. Again, we lucked out with the weather, and we've been pretty patient waiting through some bad weather for other jobs that we have to do here. and I think Steve will be really thrilled with it. But this is an ongoing project that we're not done with yet, and all of the stuff up to this point, up to the tank and the fairing, is already out on the channel. So the next step on this job is going to be to, again, get with Steve and get that vinyl, the decal, the turbo decal, and Dale's daughter, I think, is the one that's making them. The unique stickers for the side, and then of course we'll be ready to do the clear. Now again, the whole thing of this bike, the gas tank, the tail section, the fairing, is already out on the channel. You put my name in quotation marks and what you're looking for, XN85, and they'll all come up, and they're all basically about this bike right here. And I think when Steve's done with this is really going to be a nice little accessory to have, as a whole set of bodywork that's got fresh paint and fresh vinyl on it. And maybe there's other upgrades he's planning, I don't know, but we'll see him when he comes over to do the vinyl. And last time he came over to do the vinyl, we had quite a fun day and ate a few bagels along the way. Anyway, I always like to let the customer put on his vinyl, because if it's crooked, then it's his problem. My specialty is make the paint shine. And you can see why he had a backmast the front of that, which made holding apart a lot easier. And it's a pretty cool bike. It's a unique bike. I don't think they made 50,000 of them. And the ones that are still in nice shape and run well, and this is one of them, it's a cool bike. So, and if you're new to the channel, we do try to post something up every day, and motorcycle related, to share our passion for motorcycling and our love of the open road. And again, I hope you got some information off the video that's interesting and fun, and go out and go do some wheelies. And thanks so much for watching.